Welcome to the Save Par Golf Podcast, where two average golfers talk about golf and things. I'm your host, Eric.
I'm your host, Dominic.
We are currently in episode 42, and we have a couple of very special guests today. We have Jared and Louie with SmartGrip Golf. SmartGrip is the first truly discreet golf grip training aid you can use on the course to instantly improve ball striking and increase distance. Jared, Louie, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on our podcast. We are on episode 42. We are very excited to have you on, talk about SmartGrip Golf. And what it is and how the company was started. And Jared, I did want to say thank you so much. It was nice to meet you. You actually were willing to fly out in Minnesota and play in our first annual Save Par Golf tournament. So I really appreciate that and look forward to playing in a new golf outing sometime in the near future. So appreciate that.
Yeah, we hope you didn't hate Minnesota because we know it's kind of Minnesota.
We're going to pick your brain and figure out your thoughts on Minnesota.
Yeah, no, we like it here, but it's not like a golf destination, which we've said a few times. So it does mean a lot that you did fly out for us in Minnesota.
Sure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. First of all, thank you. Derek and I have been talking on Instagram for a little while, and I said this to him then, and I'll say it now. I've been very impressed with the, camaraderie, not just in the golf sector, but with Derek, personally. And so, I wouldn't just do that for anyone. I think
I appreciate that. We had a trek. We had fun afterwards too, as well. But like I said, it means a lot to me.
Likewise.
It was fantastic.
It was a great track. Bull Rush was fun. I mean, that was a great track. It had everything, that you could think of. You guys said for a first annual golf tournament, it was really, really well done. So kudos to both of you for pulling that off.
Thanks so much. We don't want to give too much information away, but we might have a potential golf outing in March maybe in Arizona. So it's not a for sure thing, but
awesome.
Definitely love to have you guys out. But so let's jump right into it. What is SmartGrip Golf?
Okay. We are jumping right into it, aren't we?
The meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Dang. What are we gonna do after? What are we gonna talk about after this now? No, it actually was an idea that, there's a large, I'm learning more and more of us are out there. We're just out there to have a good time. And we're probably between, I'd say 15 and a 20 handicap. And there's just this nice, we're just out there to have a good time. The downside of that is most of us have a terrible slice. And I was one of them. And it was so frustrating, not only because you couldn't hit the dang ball straight, you're aiming completely left. Just to try to make it work to drive 200 yards and it's just ridiculous. And so, of course I jumped on YouTube and learned about the grip, and all the things that went on with that. And there was a grip called a strong grip where you kind of turn your hand over, and it was like, oh, I'll give this a shot. And I went out the next day probably the next day. We golfed every other day at that point, and gave it a shot, and it worked right away. It was just like magic. And I just remember thinking, all right, you guys are going down. Like, this is it. I'm going to be like scratch golfer before the end of the summer, whatever. And the third hole comes around and slice right out into the field again. I'm just like, wow. So what I realized in that moment was habit. Just this habit. We build habits. I've been golfing, and if you're golfing for any period of time, you'll learn lots of bad habits that are very hard to break. And this was one of them. Is just me getting up there and all the things I'm thinking about before I drive my ball or hit it. And so I kept trying to remember. And I just remember literally, it's like kind of what you would imagine is me saying like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there was like something on your glove that turned green and told you, like reminded you were in this grip every time. And, I can't even remember how the conversation went like that. If we talked about, the green light or whatever, but I just remember going back. And that's really for me where in the back of my mind, I think if anybody's had ideas, you can have ideas, but there are some ideas, and I know Louie, you can speak to some of the businesses you started, but like, and same with Save Par Golf, like some ideas you can't get out of your head and they just sit there and they're just like, you can't stop thinking about it. And that's really what it was for me. And as I got more into the grip, I started learning more about the fundamentals. And I just realized what a treasure trove it was and how powerful the grip can be, not only for me, but for people just getting into golf, trying to learn how to do it. And they can build on solid foundational habits and have a good time doing it. I could go on and on and on about what I learned about it and the things that can go along with the benefits of it. And I'm sure we may cover some of it now, but that's really where the idea started, was just cure my slice, get it out of the way. We obviously now at this point have a lot more, exciting things planned down the road, but there's nothing more frustrating than slicing that ball and losing your ball over and over again and not having any control over it. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Louis. I know you're kind of fresh into this, but I love fresh perspectives. If there's something you want to add, feel free.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I probably fall in the category, maybe not 15, 20, maybe more like 20 to 30.
I'm right there with you.
Let's be honest, right? Like, and, I've always been able to hit the ball really far, but not straight very often. And sometimes we go straight and I'd be like, man, I was north of 300. Yes, let's go. And then sometimes I would be proud because I would put it not in the backyard of a house lining the course. I would put it probably in the front yard of the next house rows over because it would slice so big. So when Jared told me about SmartGrip and how it worked, and we took it out to swing the clubs a little bit, I was, it's one of those things. Just like okay, and then you try it, and you're like, okay, right, there we go. Okay, that is straight. And I think the beauty of it is that when people do activities and play golf because they want to have fun, and you have more fun when you have more success, right? Because if you're like, man, I bought a whole box of balls and I lost them all by the turn, I'm out. That's
not fun.
It's not fun. It's frustrating. You're like, not only are you trying to relax, but you're like, I'm trying to relax here. And guess what? I suck. I'm not good because I lost all my balls. So having a tool like this in a non-invasive way really, I think, can help make golf more fun and even more accessible to people that maybe don't have the time to have a swing coach or to have a golf pro work with them for hours and hours and hours. They can learn the grip, and over time, they probably won't even look at the green light anymore because their muscle memory will take over. So it's the concept is sound, and my background is from teaching. And I think that muscle memory, I taught like tumbling, gymnastics, cheerleading, and you could teach someone one thing, but having them do it over and over and over and over, repeat it hundreds or thousands of times to where they don't think about it, that's when the success really starts to happen, right? It's the whole outliers theory, right? 10,000 hours. Yep. And so the more you can play with a tool that puts you in the right position every time, you'll hit straighter every time. You'll have more success, you'll have more fun, and you'll play more golf. So I think it's a win for everyone. It's been really exciting to kind of hop on this journey with Jared and Matt, and I'm really looking forward to where it goes. So it's
one thing I'll throw in there real quick too is, Louis tried it, and I think what was a week or two later, you became one of the co-founders. So I'm just saying it is. It must work. That's all I'm saying. So I'm excited you're here, Louis, and I'm excited that it works. Because again, only a select few people have actually used it. Derek, I know you were one. I don't know if you had a chance yet, but like when you know. And right now, I think we have you can count them on both hands how many people have actually tried one. And every time I get a little nervous, like please work, because my entire ego and everything is on stake here. As I was like, please work. And every time it does. And I don't know why I continue to worry about it, but it's to a point, right, where again, if you've tried it, you'll know. We're shipping these things soon. We'll get into that soon. I'm sure as far as we're in production mode right now, and we're going to start shipping them out. And Dom, we're going to get you one for sure. But yeah, it is one of those things you got to try. I mean, we can talk about it all day long, but until you put it on your hand and hit the ball and see it go 50 yards further. And
Jared, when you thought of this idea, did you kind of keep it to yourself for a little while and was like, I'm going to try to design or develop something? Or was it your first thought, I'm slicing it right, or I'm slicing it, I have this idea, are you telling people about it right away? Like, what if we did this, or what if I came up with this, or was this something you just kind of brainstormed on your own? And finally you're like, I'm going to develop something first and then I'm going to let them know.
Yeah, good question. I'm terrible at keeping secrets. So I just suck. There was a small circle of friends who were kind of there at the moment of inception where we're at the course. And I would of course bounce ideas back and forth, but I'm telling you, I had created, most of the social, like the branding and the marketing and the idea in general, the functionality and sort of logistics of how it would work, all that stuff. I even had spreadsheets ready to go within a week for the whole thing. Like I had this whole thing mapped out, probably 5 years worth of
obsessed,
work.
Obsessive with it.
It was background. I'd lead design teams that design software for large organizations. So I'm very familiar with designing hardware and software. And so a lot of this was just like, there was this sensation about doing it for myself for a change. Like I'm actually like able to like, I don't have to eat, sleep, or drink anything. I can just go and just keep doing it. Cause it's like, it just kind of comes back to just, it felt very fulfilling. So there was a lot I was able to get done right away. And then of course, once all that was done, yes, I started to ask and as I talked to people about it, I got some great ideas back. Right. So a lot of it, I want to make this very clear too. I was very intentional about who I talked to about it early on, even though I'm terrible at secrets. Some of them were club pros and instructors that are instructors for professional golfers as well. And getting their feedback was essential, because the one thing I didn't want was to create a product that professional instructors or golf instructors would not want their students to have. Like, to me, this is about educating and teaching someone how to play fundamentally good golf from a form standpoint. And it really can come down to the way you're gripping the club. So their feedback was essential. And there were certain things that you'll see in the product that are coming out, which was direct correlation to that feedback and their input. And I'll be forever grateful for their wisdom there and ability to kind of come in and say, hey, maybe don't use this word, or maybe try this and try that. And then really help shape the idea to make it something that wasn't unhealthy, because, you can learn bad things that will do good things in golf, but fundamentally it's not good. And so that was really, really critical for me early on, outside of my peer group, to get instructors and other professional.
That's a great point too. And I was going to kind of piggyback off on that, talking about, well, first off, Louis had mentioned, any hobby that you pick up is very expensive depending on how you want to approach it. Right. And so, you have Pro V1 golf balls or whatever golf ball it might be. They can range from $30 to $46 for a dozen golf balls. And if you're going to go out there and spend anywhere from $50 to $75 for a round of golf, add on top of the clubs and the golf balls, and then you lose all of your golf balls, it's just not fun. Right. And so in slicing a ball is probably one of the most common things any amateur golfer, or any golfer for that matter, does. It's very common.
8 out of 10. It's 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
That's
exactly.
That's 80%.
It is.
Yes.
It is. It's very common. And I think that's where, when I was a kid, I didn't really like playing golf. I didn't really play a lot of it, but it was just mentally frustrating. And it's a hard game. And if you're not really all in, it's just not a fun game. And again, if you're losing golf balls and hacking the ball away, it's just not a good time. So I think that, Lou, you brought up a great point, but at the same time, Jared, you went to basically where you should go, right? You went to professionals, pros that actually are teaching classes and lessons, and they're actually suggesting and recommending it. And I was going to ask you, when you sent these out, what has been your feedback for the most part? I know you talked about the professionals, they've really enjoyed it, but have you been sending them to, and you sent it to me and I really enjoyed it. And I think Louis kind of hit the nail on the head. It's a memory thing, which I really liked. I don't slice the ball very much, but when you see it, you just kind of can connect, and it's a memory, a muscle for me. But are you sending it to all handicap golfers, or as far as like demos, what has been that side of the business been for you?
Yeah, I have. And the feedback I'm gathering is more around the experience of using it, right? So one thing we found happened often early on, was it would at times come off when you would swing the club. Now, we're not going to see this as we're writing the code or we're putting together marketing plans, whatever, right? It has to actually be out there and be used. So there's things like this that I was looking for. Can you see the light? Do we have a tendency to leave it on through the whole round and then leave it on afterwards? And like, how does that work? Is it hard for them to get it off? Or is it hard for them to put their glove on with it on? So all of this stuff went into the design of the actual chip to ensure that we fix those issues. So a lot of it was less about does it work or not, because the technology was pretty sound. It's pretty simple. It's almost scary simple how it is. And then it just, the difference that it makes is incredible. So it wasn't beyond that, more than was just like the design of the unit itself and how did it feel? And did it feel like it was too big? From a weight standpoint, did it throw you off? All that stuff matters because there were a few things early on that I really wanted to keep in this product, which is like, it has to be discreet. It has to be something that is just, it's there, right? That's a big, big thing. The other thing is something I can take with me on the course, right? Like, again, like you got to be able to take it with you on the course. And then something that works right away. There's no warm-ups. There's no like calibration. It literally just put it on and it works. So there's all these things that I wanted to make sure from an experience standpoint stood out. And so that's really the feedback I got no matter who had it. But again, like I said, we had some interesting findings early on around, there's a little notch on the Q Mark gloves that we had to ensure was tighter. There's just a little, like from a lighting standpoint, we had low battery indicators and things like that we're going to start putting in over time to help the experience be better with using it and not make it so it's like a hassle, because that can, no matter how good it fixes your slice or anything else, if it causes you more issues, like if it adds issues, it's really not worth it. So we really wanted that's the angle of feedback I was really after as I sent these out, more than how could we improve the algorithm or anything like that.
So, no, I'm cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
So this takes me to one of my questions. You're saying the Q Mark glove, stuff like that. I read about those on the website and the product info. How readily available are those gloves? I don't think I've ever owned one that has that. Like, is it like expensive to get one of those gloves? Like, I play the G4 gloves, so like they're a little bit more expensive, but it's just like a nicer leather. Like, do those come with when you buy the little sensor?
Yep. So the reason I wanted to use a Q Mark glove, I wanted my own glove from the very beginning, but again, I needed to get to market fast. And so I reused existing technology. We ended up, the Q Mark, I remember going to it was Silverado in Napa, and they had them there. And I was like, I still have the video I sent to them. I was like, guys, look at this. And snapped in, right? This little magnet just snapped in the glove. I'm like, that is it. Like, let's make it work with this. Square did the same thing with its reader when it first came out. So Square, if you remember, when it first came out, they used the audio jack because they didn't have, the slider. So the audio jack actually transmitted. They reused that before they could create their own, PO or what is it?
Never knew until Apple got rid of it, right?
Until Apple killed everything. But that's a similar approach that I wanted to take. And again, we're not going to always rely on Q Mark. We've had discussions about them always being compatible with Q Mark, but they are hard to find. We do plan on making our own gloves that are proprietary to SmartGrip. We can do a lot more with that. It's just a matter of time and money. And again, at the same time, like, we will sell these with the gloves. We plan on doing it. We're gonna have our own custom ball markers that'll come with it and everything like that. So we know that the chip needs the glove right now. And so we're gonna do everything we can to ensure that you have both.
With that being said, is it Indiegogo, I believe, is the platform? You guys started it kind of very similar to like a Kickstarter.
Yep.
So you guys had a goal, you met the goal, which is very impressive. Kudos to you guys for doing that. How was that approach as far as like followers go? I think we had the Par Train on a while back and
a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And like for us, we have a pretty big platform on Instagram, right? So social media. So it's been very helpful for us, but they kind of did it in reverse. Their podcast really took off, and he's like, well, we need to start an Instagram page. And so that's kind of how that works. So they almost did it in a reverse order, which is very impressive. And for you guys, you're still very new to Instagram and social media, and we're able to make that fundraising goal. I think that's fantastic. How does that work, and what was the approach on that? And did you guys have any help specifically of like, was it just you, Jared, or do you have a couple other team members, Louis and Matt, or how did that help kind of kick? I don't want to say kickstart because I'm taking it. How did that Indiegogo your fundraiser?
You should have just said Kickstarter.
I know, right?
It's funny you say that, because initially my intention was to go on Kickstarter. And what happened was Indiegogo reached out to me and was like, we want to feature you and we want you to be exclusive. And so they, it was something I had to think about, because I've heard of Kickstarter and I was very familiar with that. I was not as familiar with Indiegogo, but they were so excited. They were like, literally, we will, like, whatever you need to get you going, we'll promote you, we'll help you. And so I was just like, wow, like of course, like if you're going to do that, it's a very similar platform to Kickstarter. It runs very much the same way when you think about, how do you want to launch and run a campaign. So it was something that, we decided to do. And, I take great pride in that Indiegogo page, because I did a lot of research in what makes a great Indiegogo page, believe it or not, like all the things that you got to put on there. And it's one of those things, again, where I just got so involved with it. I just kept updating it, kept tweaking it, kept improving it, kept trying new things. And the feedback I got from Indiegogo when they first looked through it was, you can't say all of this. Like, you have all this stuff in here. Like, you're telling like your life story, basically. Like, you need to just cut it down, like to bare essentials. And it was so hard for me to do that, but it was really, really good, because it helped me understand the story better and helped me understand what the product did and how the product helps people better, right? Like, I already kind of knew, but I would embellish a lot of it through story. And so the process of actually creating the page was nice, and it did work, right? I think people want to see very clearly and quickly, will this help me or not? Is it legit? So legitimacy is a big thing too, right? So we knew right away that first week of the campaign was very critical. We wanted to get a good start, so we did a lot of promotion prior to that. And then, of course, we had another towards the end of the campaign. But yeah, it's a word of mouth thing. And we had a few prototypes out during the time, and people who have tried it, of course, were promoting it. And I'm super grateful for them for doing that. Because, it again, when you've tried it, you'll tell people about it and you believe them, because you don't make this stuff up. And so there was a lot of that grassroots marketing stuff happening that it was going unseen to me, but I'm super grateful for that. And again, I had no idea what I was doing, and neither did Matt at the time. So we were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, hoping that we could hit our goal. But we did feel very, I would say, taken care of by Indiegogo. I'm super grateful to them and their team for really helping us with a successful campaign.
What has been like the toughest part as far as the business aspect? Like you do this Indiegogo page, create it. You have to design the product itself. Is there something that you really enjoy doing as far as the business side? And is there something that you just like kind of maybe tough, or you'd like to have maybe Louis help you on that side of things?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I can't really do any. I'm not gonna say I'm terrible on the business side, but it's just, maybe I am. I don't know. This, Louis, I'm gonna turn this over to you, because this is essentially why, like, I can take an idea so far, but that's the thing too. You can have a great idea, but if you don't have the foundational business pieces in place, right? Like, to really ensure that you need to hedge your bet on the success of it, right? I could have a really crazy, wild idea and it could be great. But again, if I'm not forming things correctly, if I'm not thinking through things correctly or projecting correctly and planning and prioritizing and all the stuff that I work with people that do that, it's just going to take a long time. I mean, I had this idea in 2019. Here we are in 2022. The pandemic didn't help, but at the same time, that's a lot of time that had passed. And what we have been able to accomplish in the last 2 months with Louis and even Matt prior to that last December, phenomenal. And this is the power of partnering up with people and leveraging their strengths. So Louis, I mean, from the business aspect, you can go ahead and take that question, because I got nothing.
Yeah, well, you say that. Jared doesn't give himself enough credit. I've been a part of multiple startups, and Jared and Matt were about like half pregnant with this thing when they brought me on, right? I mean,
I like that analogy.
I mean, come on. They to their credit, they, and Jared's point, there's a lot of people that have a lot of ideas. Jared and Matt turn their ideas into reality, which very few people do. And that's already puts them in the top 1% of people with great ideas, right? And so now it's like, all right, cool, we have this thing that works. Now what do we do, right? Well, we have a bunch of people that want it. Okay, that's neat. And they have production lined up, but it's, production is always an interesting thing. Scaling production is the challenge, right? Going from, well, we're going to make 250 to we're going to make 250,000, right? Like, so that transition and who the right partners are and what are your materials of construction and all those pieces. And do we raise money? How do we raise money? How much money are we going to raise? When do we start marketing? All of those things is kind of like, that is the next step, right? And as we stand here today, we're preparing to kind of birth this child, right? That is SmartGrip. I mean, it's like a mother that did all the work, it grew the baby, and then now it's about to be born, but you still got to raise it, right? you gotta nurture it, feed it, and teach it, and train it, and coax it, and guide it along. And there'll be ups and downs, and that's with every business. But we've got an exciting road ahead, and Jared and Matt did such an excellent job getting it to where it is. And as we continue to grow, I'm sure the team will grow as well. Right. And that's the exciting part about starting businesses and creating and building, right. Is that you create not only a product, but as we create jobs, we create livelihoods for people, you create more, and all the people involved, whether they're using, they're a customer or they're on the team, their lives are better because of this idea that became a product. And it all starts back with Jared in his head. So that's, to me, is always the most interesting and fascinating thing about starting a business, is that just that idea down the road can be providing livelihoods for families and food on the table and helping more and more people enjoy something. It's just such a gift to the world that Jared gave when he took his idea and said, let's make this real, Matt. So
it took a what, $60 round, Jared, to find out that you're going to create a awesome business model and help all sorts of people, right? It's crazy though. Like you said, it goes further than the game of golf, like you just hint on. I love that. It puts food on people's table. And Jared, for you, man, like you said, that's fantastic. I think so many people, Louis, you said like less than 1%. So many people have awesome creative ideas, but they get so scared or they just don't believe in it and they just don't do it. Right. And I think that's where, for what you're doing right now, it's super impressive. I think I love the product. And I love what you're doing. So keep up the hard work. And again, Louis, I said you nailed it. I love that fact that it's not even just about golf. It goes further than that.
And if it eliminates my slice, I'm sure it's a good product.
There we go.
It's a double win.
Right? Come on, I can't go wrong there. Let's go.
We've talked to a lot of businesses, or a lot of I don't want to say a lot, but we've talked to a lot of different companies and people, and so many of them have either started like right before COVID, during COVID. And I think it's interesting because, like you said, you started kind of having that idea in 2019. Has it been an issue for you as far as like production or getting any like parts or pieces during COVID for you guys? Has that been one of the issues?
Not during COVID. In fact, it was a good break for me. I was trying to rush I wanted to launch in March. That was always my plan because it's springtime and people want to get out there. COVID hit. And of course, that sent me back 2 years, basically. Tiger winning the Masters really helps. So when Tiger's playing golf, it's good for everybody. So the timing kind of went up. But yes, we did have some production issues. I know Matt couldn't join tonight, but supply chain issues are all over the place. And so right now we're having the same stuff now where we're trying to order parts. And that's actually the harder part is trying to get through the initial, phase of this while we're going through a supply chain shortage. So that's been more of a recent issue, not necessarily COVID. or pandemic related.
Yeah, and I think there, my background is in manufacturing, so I see this as an opportunity to find sources to keep a lot of the production here in the United States, right? A lot of production has moved overseas, and I think a lot of organizations here lately, especially coming out of COVID and with what's going on between Ukraine and Russia, you find a lot of the supply chains really under a high level of stress, enormous shortages, long delays in deliveries. And a lot of it is, just getting product out, getting product made. There's lots of still COVID shutdowns that are happening in China, and they're locking down whole cities. And if we were to go there, who knows, right? So I think the opportunity here is, if we can keep as much manufacturing here stateside, the huge opportunity to kind of tighten up that supply chain and seize our own destiny, right? So not put our destiny in a bunch of different suppliers' hands, and we can consolidate that as much as possible, or self-produce as much as possible. That helps to kind of cover the risk and mitigate a lot of the risk that people are facing in the supply chains right now.
So since we're kind of on the topic of manufacturing and stuff like that, what is it made out of? Like, is it plastic? Is it like an anodized aluminum? Is it something lightweight? Magic? I like that.
Magic.
Magic.
The secret. Can't tell you until you buy one.
Yeah. Yeah. Jared, I'll let you talk about the components. It does magnetically connect to the QMart glove, which is, I think, a really neat feature. And
no, yeah, we've debated this. So I know from the beginning I wanted, form factor was important. I want it to look good. I want it to be something people like, and I wanted to feel like an Apple product sort of a sense, where it feels polished. And again, that could be me making bad business decisions, maybe. But in either case, that's where I want it to go. And I think right now where we're at is, if it's the functionality of it, it's the outcome that it's producing that's the most important thing. And we have some very durable plastic that we're experimenting with right now that's still very rugged and very good looking. We do have an aluminum based aluminum coated material that looks really, really, really good. But again, we have additional functionality and technology we want to add into it later on for SmartGrip Pros. And so it's really, there's a lot of this we're discussing internally around how do we want to launch this? Do we want an alpha version and a beta version when it comes to the types that people have? So there's an entry point and maybe a more pro level one that has a little bit more features and things like that. The sky's the limit too when we come out with our own app, for example, right? So we are looking at materials as far as where they're made. I'm leaving that up to Matt. Matt's kind of the production and manufacturing guy, and I trust him with all of that. And for me, I just look at it and I'm like, it just needs to stay on the glove. It needs to be easy to take on and off, and it needs to look fucking awesome. Like that is like, it just has to be one of those things people look at and go, what is that? Like a bionic hand of some kind. Like you just feel like you're in the future. And it just has to, the quality to me means everything, outside of obviously the outcome that it produces, but I'm just a big stickler on quality. And so a lot of so in funny fact, right now we're actually, Matt is hand making all of these. That's how important quality is for us right now, is we want to do each one. We're making each one by hand to ensure that they're done correctly and accurately and with quality. So the quality has always been a thing, just even how we assemble them, to how they're presented, to how they're used. And of course, like things like battery life and things like that. That was my number one thing from the beginning. It cannot look and feel cheap. No way. Because golf is a game where we're not out there, sure, we can play our nitro balls if we want, or our top flights. But when it comes to like our swing and we got our gloves, you're starting to see clothing and everything else happening. It's looking really good right now. The last thing you need is some cheap looking plastic on your glove that just looks like some, whatever. So I'm big on this one, and I'm very bullish on it. And it's something that, again, probably gets me in more trouble from a business aspect. But I absolutely, we are really taking it seriously as far as the materials we're using to ensure that they're just durable, waterproof, resistant, etc., but also look really good at the same time.
So we talked about what Smart Golf or SmartGrip Golf is. How does it, for our listeners, how does it work? You get a glove, you put the chip on. Can you just explain? I know we've talked about what it does, but so if somebody buys one, what are they going to get?
They will get a chip, SmartGrip chip, and a glove, the QMark compatible glove. Well, you'll simply just attach it. There's a little notch on the QMark gloves where you'll pick up the metal ball marker. Typically, it's where you can put your finger to pull it up. We use that notch to calibrate it on the accelerometer inside of it. So we use that to sort of calibrate the hand. So once that's in, you'll see it blink 3 times. That means it's on and it's now reading data. Once it's on, you'll grip your club. Now, one thing people I found in the field, a lot of us tend to grip the club incorrectly. I know we talked about this, Derek, a couple of weekends ago. A lot of people will grip it in the palm of their hand. And what you want to do is grip it like you would grip a hammer. So you're going to grip it in the fingers or like the knuckles or the kind of down the bottom, the base of your fingers. Like think about holding a hammer. You wouldn't hold it in the palm because you have very little motion in that hand. So by holding it in the finger, you'll get better accuracy of SmartGrip because it was made for a proper grip.
I do everything wrong then.
when you're holding it in the palm, what'll happen, and this is a good indicator actually for anyone listening to this podcast. You'll know you're holding it in your palm if it feels like you're turning your left hand over way too much. Like it'll feel like you're almost like, this looks ridiculous. I should not have my hand completely upside down. It's because you're holding it in the palm. So if you think about holding your golf club up like a sword and you're just putting it in your hand and then you just drop it down. That's what it needs to feel like. And then the green light will turn on. Once the green light is on, you swing. It's one more thing I'll call out is that it'll almost feel like depending if you're right-handed golfer, your left tricep will flex. And it's a strong grip. It really feels solid. And it makes a huge difference, like I said, just in the confidence of the swing and the accuracy and consistency, and you'll feel it right away.
You do have a SmartGrip and a SmartGrip Pro, correct?
Currently, yes.
Okay. And as far as like the battery life, how does that work? So is it just like a little chip, or do you charge it?
Well, and like how do they differ? Like, is the Pro gonna be like amazingly different, or is it just added battery life with a couple of features? Or
well, the Pro, different material. It's got an aluminum coated, metal base, much more upscale. The battery lasts twice as long. We have additional features in the Pros. For instance, we can have a low battery indicator, which really helps. We have power saving features. So if it's attached to the glove in the basic version, it's reading it all the time, no matter what. But let's say you leave it on your glove and you sit it down. After 10 seconds of inactive use, it turns off the battery. So there's things we're putting in the Pro to extend the life of it. But again, at the end of the day, it comes down to when we have the app, things will change dramatically from how we're selling this thing, obviously. But it comes down to aesthetics and just pure optimization of battery life when you talk about basic to Pro. So it's really an aesthetic preference. If you don't mind, we have a really great plastic that we're using too. This nylon plastic, super durable, super tough, and it's just as good. It works just as well. And so we've been playing around with both of those in a sense, and we've even had the conversation of, well, do we even need to? So we're at that stage too, where it's kind of like, do we need to right now, really? And can we just call it SmartGrip and move on, and then see where we go from there? So these have been all topics of discussion lately.
What is the price on that?
So SmartGrip is $79.99, SmartGrip Pro $129.
Okay. And then you kind of already discussed about the battery life on that.
And we are running a promo right now that I just created right before this podcast. So anybody listening to this, and I'm leaving this on in perpetuity. So if you listen to this in a year from now, give it a shot. The code is SAVEPAR20 and you'll get 20% off your entire order. So SAVEPAR20.
Awesome. We'll make sure to post that as well. So that's a good deal, 20% off. To kind of switch gears, I will say I have a couple other questions before we kind of take off, but for someone who maybe might be an entrepreneur, business owner, or starting a business, I think, Jared, you've done a really good job of kind of paving the road here for SmartGrip Golf, what is one piece of advice maybe that you might give someone that might just be starting out a business, or not necessarily even golf related, but just a business company in general?
Surround yourself by others, really. Like, talk about it, because the more you talk about it, for me personally, it was important for me to talk about it because I could get the feedback that it was a valid idea. At the same time, I was improving the idea at the same time, and it kept me in the idea. So just don't, a lot of people, and I've done this before with other ideas, just keep it to myself and kind of stew on it, but it's just nothing happens. So for me, it was just about like talking about it with others. What are your thoughts? Like, would this work? I actually I wired up a green LED light into some plastic circle that I cut out and taped it on my glove. And I was like trying to imagine you just go out there and you're like, picture a world with this in it. And that's literally where I lived for a good year and a half. When it comes to the maturity of the business side of things, I'll turn this over to you, Louis, if there's anything you want to add there, because I feel like early on, I was able to get a lot of the vision work out of the way, like where I want to be, where I want this to be in 5, 8 years, whatever. But then you got to get to where's the traction? Now, how do we make progress towards that? Where does that start? And I think that's a really important thing to do because, again, I had the idea in 2019, here we are in 2022. That's 3 good years, right? And again, something I always like to do this with the teams I work with, the organizations I work with, and even with this project. How can I have done it better? How can I improve next time around? Like, what would that be? And it would be, get some of this stuff in order, at least go talk to someone, go find an advisor, just get their input early just to see. I don't know, Louis, if you want to add anything to that. That was something looking back that I had wished I'd done more of early on.
Sure. And I think, there is a lot, I think that's a valid point. Getting a mentor, meeting with someone who has done a startup before, right when you're starting, and say, I have this idea, I want to start a business. Because for me, in the companies that I've started, many times I would be like, I can't tell anybody because they might steal my idea. And what I've realized is it takes an enormous amount of work to get something from an idea to actually in the market. So if someone was going to steal your idea, they're probably going to be a competitor anyway, honestly, because very, very unlikely chance that they will actually steal your idea because most people don't want to do the work, And so going to people that have been successful and have been through the process before, and you can say like, hey, have you done this? Have you checked the domain names? Have you done the trademark searches? Have you done all of those little details that, you can check and or not, so you don't, get down the road. And then I think one of my favorite examples that I can give, and I loved watching it, and I think everybody did too, maybe not for this reason, but if you think about Elon Musk with SpaceX, and especially the Starship, right? It was like Starship 10 by the time that thing landed back down. I mean, it blew up, like millions and millions of dollars blew up over and over and over. It failed so many times. But the trick to starting any company is to fail quickly and to fail fast, right? Because you learn when you fail. Well, that didn't work. All right, let's try something different. Let's try something different. Let's try to improve. And the faster you can iterate that cycle, the quicker you get to success, right? If you try to put it all into one bet, this is my one shot, it's got to be perfect. You may or may not hit the target. Very often you don't. But if you're open to failing and you're willing to try and try again, learn, that kind of repetition, that kind of grit and fortitude and commitment to the idea and the business is what usually sets apart the people that are successful and not. And that, I think most people can do that if they commit to that and they're open to, failing. Most people don't like it though. I don't like to fail. But
it's a great example. Actually, both of you guys had awesome pieces of advice.
Yeah, it's the one thing, like I'm in management and I'm actually a business major, and it's kind of going, but it's not really going type of thing in school. The one thing I tell my staff is like, it's okay to fail. You're not going to be great at everything at every time. But if you're going to fail, I want you to learn from it and learn why you failed, whether it's, just X, Y, and Z, or if it's something that all you have to do is tweak one word. It's all about growing from the experience. And if it happens, it'll happen regardless. You're going to fail eventually, if not right away. It's kind of like, I can't help but relate everything we've talked about to kind of us starting this podcast. I think we kind of had the idea in 2019. And then I think 2020 came around and we're like, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it big. We're going to do it right. We're going to be quality driven versus quantity driven. Whether that's me looking up like hundreds of microphones to use or even computers or stuff like that. But it all kind of goes back to just really wanting it and really wanting to bring something to the market that is going to either help people or that people will enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, and that's it. That's just it. You can think about something and sometimes people get nervous or fearful. And, as I have moved forward in my life, it's almost like when life presents you with opportunities where you're a little nervous, you're anxious, you're like, I probably should do that then. It's an opportunity for me to grow. It feels like that. If it makes me nervous, it's usually that road less traveled, right? And that's the one you want to look at if you're trying to grow, trying to create something new, something you haven't done before. So,
well, Jared, Louie, I appreciate that. Those, like I said, I consider myself an entrepreneur. I work in sales, but again, with Safe Par Golf, we have the podcast. We're always looking at ways to grow the game of golf. And again, this is why we do the podcast. Probably one of my favorite things is being able to help companies that have an awesome idea or awesome product, but we have the platform to be able to present it and show other people these items. And like you said, Louis, keep kind of going back to it about how it's more than golf. And that's what I love. We've talked about Leaderboard Customs, for example. He's a custom shoe designer. He does a lot of golf shoes, and we actually had at our tournament. He wasn't there, but he was one of our prizes. He did a custom pair of Nike Roshe golf shoes for the closest to the pin. And there's been numerous times where he sent me DMs about how he could literally quit his full-time job and do custom shoes if he had a clone, because he's gotten so much DMs and so much business from something that I've done. And for that, that's the reason why we do Safe Par Golf. And so it really benefits me to be able to, and Dom, to be able to have people on that have such a cool idea and be able to kind of promote it and help get people familiar with SmartGrip. Because I think, like you said, it's not cheap to have a swing coach or a golf coach, right? This is a pretty inexpensive product, if you think about it, that can tweak a lot of different things. The memory thing, the slices, it's very inexpensive. And I think golf is an expensive sport, but people are willing to spend the money if it works. And that's what we're here for. And so we appreciate you taking the time. We do normally end, and Dom, I'm sorry, I normally talk 95% of the time, so I apologize. I know you had a couple of questions, and I don't know if you have any other questions.
We answered them.
We did. Okay,
yeah,
good.
Because you asked them.
Sorry, you do this every time. I'm terrible. I'm literally.
Yeah, every week he's like, yeah, do some research, come up with questions, blah, blah, blah. And I came up with questions, and you know what?
We asked the same questions, and of course I asked him. I actually deleted one of them, but I didn't the other two, so I apologize. But kind of our signature, though, before we kind of sign off, is we like to ask each one of our guests if there's one meal that you could either go to a restaurant or make, or have someone make it for you, what would be that go-to meal?
I like food. So, Derek, I mean, this is a really hard question.
It should be a hard question.
Yeah, it's a loaded question.
D, all of the above.
Anything
you can make this plate. It could be a steak. It could be taco. It could be whatever you want. I mean, it could be one big pallet of food.
It could be McDonald's chicken nuggets.
It could be whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I always go back to and I think I was listening to I don't know where I was listening to this. but it goes back to like my growing up, like my childhood, and like for some reason we ate a lot of pasta. So it not only is it awesome, lasagna is like my go-to thing, and there's a million ways to make lasagna, and it's partially due to my upbringing and eating a lot of pasta. My mom made us a lot of mac and cheese and lasagna, and a Polish dish called goulash, I think, which is also pasta, which is really, really good. And so I'll go with lasagna, extra sausage, extra cheese, extra everything. Any day of the week.
Is this a homemade lasagna then, or is this was it from a certain restaurant that you might?
Homemade. Okay. All the way. Yep.
All the way. Sure. Louis, what about you?
It's a toss up. I'm normally a really big breakfast person. So like part of me wants to say bacon and eggs,
Can't go wrong with bacon and eggs.
Yeah. Either that or pizza. We made some Napoleon style pizza from scratch the other day, and that was really good. So I don't know. So let me say, I'll just say pizza for the day.
Pizza. Yeah. Okay. You know what? You're the first one that said pizza, but I love pizza too. I could honestly eat pizza every day if it wasn't terrible for you.
How do you feel about breakfast burritos?
Love them.
Yeah. So
you would love our. We had so not to interrupt. We had an episode with Odin when they launched their NFTs. And we went on like a 40-minute rant about breakfast burritos.
I love them.
And, well, Jared, you were on 3Jack. Did you have the burrito, or what did you have?
I know I had the burrito. I was going to get another one. I already. Every time I'm at the golf course, I'll get the breakfast burritos if they have them. That's like my go-to. I like morning golf. I like getting up early. Yeah. I love the dew. I love because the day's in front of you when you're done.
Yeah.
You
not a morning person.
See, I'm the same way. I love that too. Over here, he likes to get his beauty sleep. Apparently.
We have a 7 a.m. tea time on Sunday, and I'm pissed.
Oh, it's such a good time.
He likes to glow in the dark balls. Come on.
I do.
Breakfast burritos from McDonald's. I don't know if you've had them.
My dad likes those.
I've never had a breakfast.
They're like $1. Well, inflation's a little,
pricey. Now it's $2.
But they're like $1.
They have like a picante sauce that is super good.
It's so good, and they're like small, and they have a lot of cheese and a lot of sausage and eggs. It's actually pretty simple, because sometimes when they put hash browns and stuff at other restaurants, like that's a little much for me. But it's, I don't know, McDonald's.
Easy to eat. Easy to
2 or 3 of them for like $3 or $4, and you're like, I'm ready. Let's go.
See, that's crazy. I don't really eat a lot of like fast food any longer, but I used to love the sausage, egg, and muffin from McDonald's with the hash brown. Or my order would be sausage, egg, and muffin, sausage, cheese, egg McMuffin, and then I'd get 2 hash browns. But then if I go to Burger King, it would be the croissant witch with the hash browns. And
yeah.
I haven't had it in forever, but I could mac on that. Breakfast food is one of the best things to eat. And I could eat any time of the day too. Like I could eat that for dinner.
Oh yeah. Go try it sometime.
What's that? I never even knew they existed, to be honest.
Yeah, my dad loves them.
Sandwiches.
Taco Bell has like a handheld breakfast crunch wrap. So it's got eggs, bacon, cheese, hot sauce, and then hash browns in it. And we were talking about that one episode. I don't remember which episode, but it's like my favorite breakfast thing in the world, because it's everything
all in one
in a tortilla in your hand. It's like my fat kid dream.
Louis, speaking of though, do you put the salsa? Do you dip?
Oh, here we go.
Do you dip the salsa? Do you put it in? Because Jared, when the 3Jack, they had the salsa in the burrito, right?
Yeah.
See, so some people for me,
some people would rather dip it.
I would rather dip it and eat it.
Yeah, that's the wrong way to do it.
Do you dip it or do you pour it on?
You pour it. Yeah,
I pour it on. I pour it on. Yep. Usually I'll eat it. I shouldn't while I'm driving sometimes, usually, because they're easy to drink when you're driving. So I'll just go like just a little bit on and take a bite.
Okay.
Yeah. But like, I like, and I'll ask for like 6 packets, because the salsa is really good. And the picante sauce, for sure.
Well, guys, we appreciate it. Again, let's definitely try to do this again, maybe down the road.
After I use it, we can like talk about how bad my slice used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Hey, there we go. I will say, like, I don't think I would have gone on this podcast, Derek, if you hadn't tried it. It's super important for me, I think, to really instill that, right? Like, I wanted to ensure, like, here, try it. Like, I didn't want this to be any type of like like
sales gimmick.
Yeah.
No,
like,
you honestly, you sent it out to me, and I yep.
Thank you for trying it and giving it a shot. And Louis did the same thing. I really want people to try this. And again, I wouldn't have come on here had you not. And we're sitting here talking about hypotheticals all day. So Dom, unfortunately, you're the odd man out because you're the one who hasn't tried one. At some point, very, very soon. In fact, I can even see if we can get you one like ASAP because I want to make sure you try it. I would love to get your feedback just in general. That's our big ask. So anybody listening to this who has ordered one, when you get it, please give us your feedback. Please send us emails. You can get us on Messenger, all that stuff on Facebook. Just send us your feedback. We want to hear how we can improve it. So if there's something that's not working or not working well or not well enough, please let us know.
I will say Derek was like super excited to get it. And he doesn't always get excited over things because he doesn't really have a whole lot wrong with his golf game. Well, no, he hates bunkers, but who doesn't? And he was like genuinely excited for it and was like genuinely impressed. So it made me kind of jealous.
And the roles are kind of reversed here. Same thing. I mean, we like to have people on that we believe in, and so awesome. It goes both ways. So, like you said, I tried it. I think it's great. Said I don't have a huge slice, however,
I do.
It does work, so we got to get in the hands of Dom, and we'll have you guys on again down the road, and hopefully maybe towards the end of summer, and we can talk about how the production's going and the sales and everything else. And maybe some future different
what are you saying?
Collabs or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, we could do some more Instagram. We got to do more of that anyway. It's just fun to get on and riff and talk golf because we didn't get to talk about Liv. We didn't get to talk about Brooks Koepka, which I'm kind of pissed about.
Which is crazy, right?
Oh, and we can still talk about it.
Yeah, if you want to take a minute. I thought that was kind of crazy considering the whole greedy thing, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's gone.
Yeah, this man sat up there and was like, "Man, all these guys are chasing money. I'm chasing majors, blah blah blah." And then he's like, "Okay, deuces by and taking the money."
Well, his brother went, the week before, and I think part of the plan was let's see how little brother does, and then obviously the feedback was good, and Brooks is like, all right, my little brother is not going to make more money than me. This is ridiculous. So
that's exactly what I said too. I'm like, he's going to be making more money playing and finishing and tied for 20th or whatever.
That man has like the craziest ego I've ever seen on tour. Like,
although the popcorn will be back though with Bryson and so I'm excited to see how that's going to unfold. So, what do you think about Liv though, in general? Still so many questions, but
this is a touchy topic I'm finding in the industry, but and I'm not going to give you the political answer. I'm going to tell you, I actually really like the idea of Liv Golf. If it wasn't Saudi backed, it wouldn't be as a big deal. In fact, it'd be a completely different conversation that we're having right now. But I don't think that has really anything to do with the fact that their players are making the decisions for a reason, right? There must be some big fundamental issues with the other organization we shall not name, like for this to happen, right? That we don't even know about. Like these are major players and they're continuing to go over there. So there's a lot we don't know. I think it's great to sort of, it's called competition. Like, it's good. It's healthy for businesses to compete like this. So I'm actually excited, not as much about the Live Tour itself, but for what it's doing for the game of golf and how it's opening up opportunities for players to explore different ways of playing how they want to play and where they want to play and how they want to make their money. And some people like Rory really want to earn their money on tour, probably because he's already got more money than he needs. All these players who say they were PGA loyal are already they're set for life. So, I mean, it's like one of those things, right? You got to really consider those options. So there's going to be a tour for everyone. And I really liked what it does bring into the game overall.
Did you really think though, like 6, 7, 8 months ago that Bryson, Brooks, DJ, I mean, these guys, we've had these conversations.
The whole thing was unknown until it feels like a week ago, because there are all these rumors. It's like, yeah, this is going to happen. But then we didn't have a name for it. We didn't have any TV deals. We didn't even have a streaming deal at that point. And, there are no names attached to it other than Greg Norman. Now I think it's crazy. When the older dudes left, I was like, okay, get your money, get your bag, whatever. Don't blame you. Phil Mickelson's a PGA legend, whether you want to say so or not. Like he did his time on tour, stuff like that. But now that they're getting names like Brooks, even Bryson, and now, Answer just left today.
Answer.
Now they're starting to attract the younger generation of golf, which is going to be kind of scary for the PGA, I think. I mean, I could be completely wrong. It could be a hot topic, but I don't know. I just feel like they're going to start generating something.
Look, if the PGA has a great product, they have nothing to worry about. Plain and simple. And if they don't, they need to make some changes. And what's going to happen is they're going to make some changes. Like, they will make changes. The game will improve. Players will be more happy. These players are getting paid more because they were the first to put their neck on the line. Like, you're not going to forever get paid $250 million to go to live. Like, it's really the inaugural year for this. So they're paying big money. They offered Tiger almost $1 billion, right? So like, they want to make a hit. Greg Norman has been telling us this for 6 months, literally. Like, this has been his story. Like, he has said, I have lists of people, big names, and everybody's laughing at him. Like, he was full of it. Here we are. And like, it's one of those situations, I think, where the media gets involved, and you have to be careful, right? Who's talking? Even when it comes to Rory, I don't know where his allegiance is. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors with the quotes I'm hearing come out of the PGA right now. Like, right? Like, all this stuff, you just have to kind of look at and trust the fact that these players are adults. They're very mature adults. They understand what's going on. They're making rational business decisions. I'm sure they have advisors. I'm sure they have people that are making sure they're not making dumb decisions. So like, at the end of the day, we can spin this and anyone can spin it, but these decisions are being made. Players are going over there. The game is going to improve. Greg Norman knew this all along, evidently. Right. Like, make fun of him all you want.
He's kind of called it. He keeps on saying it. Everyone kind of laughed at him, but everything right now is coming to fruition.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'm excited
again,
about
fellas. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Louis. I know, like you said, we say 30, 45 minutes to an hour, and then it ends up being an hour and 10 minutes. That's how our podcast works. You just
fast.
All right. I'm here. It's all good. It was such a pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen, for having us on today.
Yes, thank you.
Oh yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we had a blast as always. And again, let's try to connect maybe later this summer, and we'll talk about how Dom is hitting straight 300-yard bombs.
God, wouldn't that be great?
I love it.
Wouldn't that be great?
All right, boys. Take care. Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you both.